Hello there, kia ora. Yesterday, the Treasury announced that our inflation rate is down to just 3.3%, which means two things are going to happen now. First of all, the Prime Minister and the government's going to take credit for it. Oh, look, there we go. Yep, taking credit for it. It's all up to them for fighting rampant inflation. What was that second thing? Oh, yeah, we're going to show that they probably shouldn't be taking credit for the things that they think they're taking credit for and should be blamed for the issues that still exist. Issues like this. That's definitely something that this government should be concerned about because they're the ones that are dealing with the engineered recession that they put in place to bring down inflation. Maybe we went a little too hard on that whole engineered recession thing. Anyway, let's have a look at exactly what has happened with our inflation rate. You see, our inflation rate is, well, pretty much where Treasury thought it was going to be 2 years ago when they mapped out what they thought the inflation cycle was going to be at the start of the invasion of the Ukraine from Russia, because we knew that it was going to have impacts on things like supply chains and food availability, which it did, which saw rampant worldwide inflation rates increase. I know that a few National Party voters out there probably didn't realise that until last week when the Prime Minister finally admitted it, but that's actually what happened and what people have been trying to tell you for years now. Anyway, if we take a look at the CPI for, say, 8 major areas, we can see how that inflation rate actually got out of control. A CPI is a consumer price index. It's basically how much it costs to buy a basket of groceries or buy certain services. And they get checked off every quarter so you can see what the price change differences are in each different market. We as a country actually weathered the inflation spike relatively well when you compare it to most of our neighbours or most of the other markets that we look at. Until about 6 months ago, when I don't know what happened, maybe there was some kind of change of management and monetary policy and the way the economy was looked after, that meant that those other markets that we compare ourselves to, well, their CPI dipped quite significantly. Ours didn't. Ours got stuck because of things like people's rates bill and rent bill and food costs and transport costs. All of those extra costs that get passed on to consumers, well, they make our inflation kind of sticky. And those are all things that the government decided to do, which means that when the government sits there taking credit for how low inflation's gotten, well, the fact of the matter is we know that a couple of years ago, this is where they predicted it to be. So obviously it's cyclical, but at the same time, it's nowhere near as low because of the sticky things that they decided to do to pass on to consumers. We also know that that's impacting the economy in other ways, like the service index, for example, shows that the rate of people hiring services in this country are the worst it's been since the lockdowns because people don't have money anymore because the economy is tanking. But if the government does want to take credit for some decisions that it's made, then absolutely let's do that. Like this decision, which tells people who are in the police force that aren't frontline officers that maybe they want to take redundancy to save money, because that seems like a really good idea. Or this decision that's going to see the New Zealand future climate targets completely missed unless somebody invents some kind of magical carbon capture technology that doesn't actually exist yet. But hey, that's a future us problem to worry about. I need to check my backyard for a second just to see if there's been any more flooding from any more extreme weather events. Just give me half a second. Oh yeah, on top of that, if they want to take credit for something else, they can also take credit for this really weird blanket approach to speed increases everywhere that Simeon Brown has done, which you can see through their draft policy announcement on transport, where he went from being selective about what sort of speed changes he wanted to being really, really specific about just blanket speed increases. It's almost like some of you will be killed in whatever it is that he decides he wants to do, but it's a sacrifice he's willing to make. So yeah, the government wants to take credit for things. Absolutely, take credit for the things the government's done. But when it comes to things like inflation, they need to take credit for the fact that it is nowhere near as low as it could have been because of the decisions that they've made that have impacted people in ways that they knew it was going to impact them well before the election. But hey, it only took them, 12 months to admit that maybe there are some big outside forces that have an impact on our local economy. So maybe, just maybe in time for the next election, they'll admit that some of this was their fault.